everybody. Um, so, we're going to start today with our session 10, Deep Study of Character. So, I hope you have your notebook open to your next clean white available page and September 29th in the upper right hand corner. And today we're going to continue our study of setting. And today, what we're going to be doing is paying very close attention to author's language. So we're going to look for the actual words that authors use in places where the setting's really important. And we're going to study, hey, what do they do in these moments where the setting is really important? What kind of language are they using to make that setting come alive? So we're going to notice author's language evokes emotions and images. So sometimes these setting details are pretty obvious, but a lot of times you have to dig deep and it can be challenging work. So we're going to start practicing that today. So we're going to take a look at a passage that we already read. This was from the short story called Popularity. And at that time, we were focusing on character. So we were thinking about Will's character. But we're going to take a different look at it today, and we're going to try to look at it with the lens of setting. So if you'll recall, this is where the scene where the two Allens and Will are picking four-leaf clovers. "Got one," Alan Shipman said. Alan Gold swiped the clover from him. "1, 2, 3, he said, throwing it to the ground. "There's 4 there. That was a 4-leaf clover. Pick it up." "You pick it up." "You pick it up." You. While the two Allens faced off, I looked across the black tar and asphalt at a crowd of boys who were making more noise and seemed to be having more fun than anyone else on the playground. These were the popular boys, and in the center of this group stood their leader, Sean Owens. So I'm going to stop there because there's something that the author did in this little paragraph here that gives us a setting detail that maybe the first time we read it and we were really thinking about character, we might have just read right over and not even noticed. So this is where it says, while the two Allens faced off, I looked across the black tar and asphalt at a crowd of boys. And I'm thinking to myself, black tar and asphalt. And I know that they were picking 4-leaf clovers, which is this green field, and he looks across the sea of black asphalt. And tar is very sticky, right? And it's black. And on the other side of that is these boys who are having this great time. And you know, and I know, that he's about to cross that black tar and asphalt. And the thing is, and this is what I want you to write in your notes for sure, number 1, is that color almost always is significant. Color. When authors use a color like black, what do we associate black with? Well, bad guy, danger, something dark, right? And even the quality of tar is like sticky, and it's like, ooh, okay, maybe that's giving us this detail of how this place feels. He's going from this green field. Green is usually a color associated with innocence and being young, and black is like danger. And we know what happens to Will. We know that he does, in fact, he is heading towards a darker side of himself. So as you look back at these settings, you might notice specific words that an author used that give you some information that maybe you didn't notice the first time. So I hope you have in your notes color, because that's almost like a hack. Authors will frequently use color. They might use red when they're talking about love or romance. They may use, or blood, right? Or something scary that's going to happen. They may use pink as a romance color, or white as a color of innocence. So when you see them, you can start to say, aha, I know a thing or two about what tricks that authors use or tools that authors use for creating setting. Here's another tip. Write down number 2. Weather is almost always symbolic. Weather. Watch out for that, because weather is it's going to try to tell you something. So if it's dark clouds were looming in the sky as this boy is walking to school, you are going to be a kid who'd be like, I bet you something bad's about to happen. Or if it said, the fluffy clouds gathered in puffs of white, it's probably something good. Or the sun was peeking out through the clouds and starting to warm the boy's face. Well, that atmosphere, that mood is light and happy. It's probably something good, that this character is having a good experience. So weather, I hope you wrote that down. Number 2, weather. Always unpack weather, because authors will frequently use weather, like cold or rain or sun or snow, to give us information about the atmosphere and how it feels to be there. So pay very close attention to what authors are trying to tell you when they talk about weather. So here's a sentence stem you can use to do this unpacking work. If you're having trouble, because this isn't easy work to start thinking about setting and to start thinking about how it feels to be in a certain place. So you might say the author could have said, Will saw the boys playing on the other side of the park. But he didn't say that. The author said, across the black tar and asphalt. So maybe the author said that for a reason. I'm going to investigate why. Is there something dark that this boy is heading into? You can try, especially if it's a moment of great decision. This is a really important moment in that story, because this is where Will is leaving one aspect of his life and heading into another. And that's a perfect time to stop and say, are there any hints that the author is giving me here to create the feeling? So if you want to write this sentence stem down, that might help you as a way to think about how the author might be hinting about setting. While you're investigating, try to be really careful to think about setting. When is the setting very important? And that you're not slipping back into character work. What did the character do? You're thinking about how it feels to be in this setting. So on the next screen, I'm going to show you, and you can take a screenshot of it. I have a non-example and an example. So here, sometimes people will slip into character work. The house was gentle. Why do I think the house is gentle? Because it says, quote, he stepped over the threshold, his soft, slipper-like shoes making no sound. At that point, the character is probably being gentle. The character is walking lightly. The character is wearing these types of shoes. If anything, it's giving us information about the character, not about the setting. So just because a character is walking gently into a house, it doesn't make it a gentle house. That's character work. Here's an example of where the setting details are about the mood and how it feels to be there. This house is tense. How do I know? It says the meal was awkward, mostly silence, punctuated by the occasional comment. His voice registered like a seismic shock down everyone's spine. Well, you can feel the tension there. It's like an uncomfortable meal. Everybody's feeling a little tense, and it's silent, which isn't really typical at a dinner or at a meal. And then when his voice sent this seismic shock down everyone's spine, you can just feel it doesn't feel good to be there. And the last thing I want you to put into your notes today, and this is really just to plant a seed, we'll do a lot more work with connotation and denotation, but connotation is the way a word feels, and denotation is the dictionary definition. And the way to keep these two words separate, and you do need to know this because these words are going to come up a lot in 7th grade, 8th grade, and for the rest of your educational career. Denotation is dictionary. So remember, D stands for dictionary definition, denotation. Connotation is the way it feels inside, right? So there could be words that have the exact same dictionary definition or very, very similar, but it doesn't feel the same at all. For example, if your friend said to you, let's say you dropped your milk and it spilled in the cafeteria, and your friend said, "Oh, you're such a silly goose." You'd be like, "Ha ha, oh yes I am, right? Silly me." If you're and or your if your friend said, and a silly goose, the dictionary definition would be like somebody who made a silly error, right? Somebody who made a careless mistake, right? Or caused a little bit of trouble. But if your friend said to you, "Oh, you're so stupid," when you dropped your milk, that's a big difference than silly goose. You're an idiot. That feels terrible inside. It has a different connotation. Even though silly goose and dummy or stupid mean about the same thing, it doesn't feel the same way when someone says it to you. So a dictionary definition can be the same for two words, and they can feel very different when they're said, or when they're written. It's just a different way it feels. Okay, so at this point you can use your workshop time. Try to find some places in your book, maybe the places you've already read, parts of your book you've already read, and take a look at the places where the settings seem to be pretty important. And see if the author left you some interesting words or details that establish what kind of place it is and what kind of mood and how it feels to be there. It's not easy work. We're just dipping our toe in it today. Tomorrow, I'll take a look at what you've done, and I'll say, like, yeah, you're on the right track, or, oh, wait a minute, maybe you need to try something a little bit different. But give it a whirl, and read on in your books, and try to read for 30 minutes tonight, and try more of this work. Look for this really interesting language that an author might use, and be really, really good. And have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.